Good evening, everyone. Today, we dive into a topic that puzzles and even frustrates many, the real reason women come back after rejecting you. First, let's be honest. Rejection stings. When a woman says no, it feels final, but then, seemingly out of nowhere, she reappears. Why? It's not random. It's human psychology at work. Women often make emotional decisions based on how they feel in the moment. If at the time she rejected you, she was overwhelmed, distracted, or simply unsure, that no didn't necessarily mean forever. It meant not now. Sometimes women reject out of fear of vulnerability, fear of losing independence, fear of making a mistake. But over time, perspectives change. Distance brings clarity. As life unfolds, she may start to realize your value compared to others. Another big factor is energy shift. If you've grown, matured, and moved on, your energy changes. You become more attractive without even trying. Confidence and self-respect are magnetic. Also, many women test a man's resilience, not out of cruelty, but to see if he truly values himself. If you crumble, you confirm her doubts. If you thrive, you spark her curiosity. One of the biggest misconceptions men have after being rejected is that they weren't good enough. But in reality, rejection often says far more about the woman's state of mind and life circumstances at that moment than it does about your value as a person. Timing plays a massive role in relationships. A woman might meet you when she's emotionally unavailable, fresh out of a breakup, focusing on her career, dealing with family issues, or simply not ready to open her heart. Even if she finds you attractive, interesting, and potentially a great match, if the timing is wrong, she may reject you to protect herself or maintain control over her life. It's crucial to understand that emotions and readiness are fluid. They change over time. Someone who isn't open to love today may become ready months or even years later after they've healed, matured, or simply entered a new phase of life. This is why people often reconnect later and why second chances happen more often than you think. Many men internalize rejection, seeing it as a statement about their intrinsic worth, when in reality, it's often just two lives not aligning at the right time. This misunderstanding leads to unnecessary bitterness and self-doubt. But when you realize rejection is frequently about external factors beyond your control, you free yourself from that burden. Rather than obsessing over why she said no, it's far healthier and more powerful to recognize that sometimes the universe is simply protecting you from a relationship that wasn't ready to thrive. And often, when you shift your energy away from needing validation and focus instead on your own journey, that same woman, now seeing you in a different light, may circle back, realizing that the timing she once thought was wrong might now be exactly right. Emotions are not static. They are dynamic, constantly evolving based on experiences, environments, and inner growth. What a woman feels about you today can be entirely different from what she feels months or years later, even without direct interaction between you two. When a woman initially rejects you, it could be because of emotional baggage, past traumas, trust issues, or even unrealistic expectations about what love should feel like. At that moment, she might genuinely believe you're not right for her, not because you lack qualities, but because her internal world is clouded by fear, doubt, or misplaced standards. However, as time passes and life teaches its inevitable lessons, her emotional landscape changes. Relationships with other people might disappoint her. She might experience heartbreak, betrayal, or simply a deep sense of loneliness that forces her to reevaluate what she truly values in a man. Through pain and growth, her understanding of what matters matures, and often, She begins to recognize qualities in you that she once overlooked or undervalued. Additionally, women's self-awareness evolves over time. With more life experience, they start to distinguish between superficial attractions and genuine emotional compatibility. What once seemed like boring stability may now feel like the security and emotional safety they deeply crave. What once appeared as lack of excitement now looks like dependable love and consistent presence. In many cases, nostalgia also plays a role. Time has a way of softening memories, especially when they are compared to newer, more painful experiences. She may begin to remember your kindness, your patience, your sense of humor, qualities that perhaps other men she dated lacked. This shift in emotional perspective can open the door for her to reconsider you, not as the same man she once rejected, but as someone she now sees with a more mature and appreciative heart. Understanding this emotional fluidity is critical because it reminds you that rejection is not a permanent judgment. It's a snapshot of her feelings at a particular moment in her journey, a journey that is always in motion, just like yours. When a woman rejects you, it's easy to assume that she simply didn't like you enough, but often the truth is much more complicated. Fear and uncertainty are powerful forces in human behavior, especially when it comes to love and relationships. Many women, even those who feel a strong attraction or emotional connection, pull away not because they don't care, but because they are scared of what that connection might mean for their life. Fear manifests in many forms. Some women fear losing their independence. Maybe they have worked hard to build their own life, career, or sense of self, and the thought of merging that with someone else's world feels threatening, even if you represent something good. Others fear vulnerability. The idea of opening their heart to someone who has the potential to hurt them can trigger intense emotional defense mechanisms. Especially if she has been hurt before, her mind might prioritize protection over potential happiness. Uncertainty compounds this fear. Even if she senses you are a great man, she might not be sure if you truly align with her long-term vision for life. Questions flood her mind. Is he really who he seems? Can I trust this feeling? What if I make a mistake and regret it later? In this state of doubt, it can feel safer to step back rather than take a risk. Societal expectations also add another layer of pressure. Women are often told what kind of man they should want: tall, rich, adventurous, dominant. And even if they feel a genuine bond with someone who doesn't fit that mold perfectly, the conflict between personal feelings and external expectations can cause inner turmoil. That turmoil can lead to rejecting someone they actually like simply because they're unsure whether following their heart is the right choice. When fear and uncertainty dominate a woman's decision-making, her rejection is less about you as a man and more about the battle happening inside her. Sometimes she needs space, time, and personal growth to overcome those internal struggles. In many cases, after experiencing life and realizing that no relationship is without risks, she might find herself looking back, realizing that the connection she once feared was actually something rare and valuable. Understanding this hidden emotional battle can help you avoid taking rejection too personally and allow you to see it for what it often truly is: a protective reaction to fear, not an indictment of your worth. One of the most fascinating aspects of human psychology is how we often don't fully appreciate something or someone until it's no longer easily accessible. When you're constantly available to a woman, when you're always reaching out, checking in, or trying to convince her of your worth, it can unintentionally diminish your perceived value. Familiarity, especially when it comes without challenge or distance, can breed complacency. She might start to take your presence, your kindness, and your attention for granted, assuming you'll always be there when she wants. However, once you step back, either because she rejected you or because you chose to move forward with your life, the space you create begins to do something powerful. It forces her to feel your absence. Without the daily text, the thoughtful gestures, the emotional support, she's left with a void. And in that void, she starts to realize what she had access to and what she may have lost. Absence brings clarity in a way words often cannot. It provides emotional contrast. When a woman is out in the world meeting new people, dating others, or simply living her life without you, she gains a clearer, sharper understanding of how rare your qualities actually are. The small things you did, your patience, your humor, your genuine interest in her well-being, that she may have once overlooked or undervalued, start to stand out in her memory. Moreover, absence also removes the emotional noise. When emotions are high during rejection or during a confusing relationship phase, it's hard for anyone to think clearly. Distance allows those intense emotions to settle, and with that emotional stillness, a woman can more objectively evaluate who you were in her life. Often, what once seemed ordinary or unexciting becomes, in hindsight, deeply meaningful and missed. This is why so many stories involve someone realizing only after separation that they had something special. It's not manipulation or mind games. It's a natural human tendency to better understand value when faced with loss. The crucial point is that absence isn't just physical, it's energetic. It's about withdrawing your emotional investment and allowing her to feel what life is like without you filling that space. And often, once that realization hits, the desire to reconnect, to experience again what they once had easy access to, grows stronger. One of the most powerful transformations you can undergo after experiencing rejection is personal growth. While many people collapse inward, dwelling on the rejection, feeling bitter, or chasing the person who turned them down, those who thrive use rejection as fuel. They focus on themselves, their health, their mindset, their goals, their ambitions. And in doing so, they naturally become more attractive, not only to the woman who once rejected them, but to the world at large. Growth is magnetic. When a woman sees that you didn't crumble after her rejection, that you didn't beg, plead, or fall apart emotionally, she subconsciously re-evaluates her perception of you. It signals maturity, emotional stability, and inner strength. It shows her that your sense of worth isn't tied to her validation. Instead, you have your own life, your own mission, and your own identity that isn't shaken by external circumstances. Independence plays a huge role here. Many men fall into the trap of making a woman the center of their lives, especially early on. But true masculine energy is deeply rooted in purpose. When you redirect your energy towards self-improvement, hitting the gym, advancing your career, developing new skills, cultivating deeper friendships, pursuing passions, you radiate an aura of fulfillment that is incredibly attractive. What's even more compelling is that this transformation is genuine. It's not a tactic or a trick designed to win her back. It's about genuinely becoming the best version of yourself for you. Ironically, this authenticity makes you even more irresistible. A man who doesn't need a woman to feel complete is the man women often chase because he offers partnership, not dependence. In contrast, if she sees that you've stagnated, that you're still stuck at the same point emotionally or mentally where she left you, it confirms to her that her rejection was justified. Growth, on the other hand, forces her to question her decision. She begins to wonder if she misjudged you, if she overlooked qualities that are now shining brighter because you chose to level up rather than break down. It's important to remember, people are drawn to energy. When your energy is strong, positive, and directed toward building your best life, it pulls others in effortlessly. Rejection becomes just a small detour rather than a defining moment, because your evolution speaks louder than any words you could say. In relationships, especially early interactions, many women subconsciously test men to gauge their emotional strength, stability, and self-respect. These tests aren't always deliberate or malicious. Rather, they are instinctive behaviors driven by a woman's deep-seated need to feel safe, protected, and connected to a partner who can handle the inevitable challenges life brings. Emotional strength is one of the qualities women are biologically wired to seek because it signals reliability, leadership, and resilience. Rejection itself can sometimes be one of these subconscious tests. A woman may push you away, not necessarily because she has no interest, but because she wants to see how you react. Will you collapse emotionally, becoming needy and desperate? Will you lash out in anger or bitterness? Or will you maintain your dignity, respect her decision, and continue building your own life without drama or resentment? Your response to rejection says far more to a woman about your true character than your words ever could. A man who accepts rejection gracefully, without begging, blaming, or trying to manipulate her emotions, shows a rare kind of strength. He demonstrates that his self-worth is internal, not dependent on her approval. This emotional independence is deeply attractive because it reassures her that if a serious relationship were to happen, he wouldn't crumble under pressure or emotional turbulence. Beyond outright rejection, women may test emotional strength in subtle ways too. By being less available, teasing boundaries, or challenging your viewpoints, they watch how you respond. Do you stay calm and grounded? Do you maintain your frame, your standards, and your sense of humor? Or do you get defensive, aggressive, or overly accommodating just to win favor? Women, especially those with more life experience, have learned that charm, looks, or even material success mean little if a man lacks emotional resilience. A good-looking man who falls apart emotionally becomes a burden rather than a partner. Therefore, many women naturally seek to find a man's emotional limits early, whether they realize it or not. When you pass these tests, by staying composed, confident, and centered in your own sense of value, it creates a deep, often subconscious respect within her. Even if she initially rejects you, witnessing your emotional strength from afar can trigger a new wave of attraction later. She starts to see you not just as a romantic interest, but as a man capable of standing firm in a world that constantly demands emotional fortitude. When a woman comes back after rejecting you, it can be tempting to immediately welcome her with open arms. After all, it's flattering to have someone who once said no, now expressing interest again. But not every return is driven by genuine love, realization, or personal growth. Sometimes her reasons for coming back are rooted in loneliness, insecurity, jealousy, regret, or a desire for validation, none of which lay a healthy foundation for a real relationship. It's crucial to understand that just because someone misses you doesn't mean they're ready to love you properly. Missing someone can be about comfort, familiarity, or even ego, wanting to know that they can still have access to you when it suits them. If she comes back because she feels lonely, rejected by others, or nostalgic about the past without truly valuing who you are now, then getting back together would be building on unstable ground. Moreover, some women return because they see your growth and want to benefit from the man you've become without actually doing the inner work themselves. They might be attracted to your new confidence, your success, or your emotional maturity. But if they haven't evolved alongside you, the relationship can quickly fall into imbalance. You'll find yourself carrying more emotional weight, trying to support someone who hasn't yet learned to support themselves. Another motive to watch for is competition. Sometimes, when a woman notices you've moved on or sees you being admired by other women, it triggers feelings of jealousy or possessiveness. Her return, in this case, isn't about building something real with you. It's about reclaiming attention or status. Once she feels she has won you back, that drive can fade, leaving you back where you started, confused and unfulfilled. This is why emotional intelligence and self-awareness are critical when a woman reappears. You must resist the impulse to immediately invest emotionally just because her presence sparks old feelings. Instead, slow down. Observe her actions over her words. Ask yourself key questions. Has she truly grown and changed, or is she simply seeking comfort? Is her return based on mutual respect or on temporary emotions like loneliness or regret? Does she show consistent effort, honesty, and willingness to build a better connection, or is she only giving enough to keep your attention? A man who has grown after rejection doesn't just celebrate her return, he evaluates it. He protects his peace, his growth, and his emotional well-being by ensuring that any woman who re-enters his life matches the new standards he's set for himself. Not every returning person deserves a second chance. Sometimes, the greatest act of self-respect is recognizing when to keep the door closed, no matter how sweet the knock sounds. After rejection, it's easy to fall into a trap, to quietly live your life hoping she will notice you, regret her decision, and come back. This mindset, though understandable, is dangerous because it keeps your attention fixed on someone else's validation instead of your own growth. True strength comes when you realize that your life's purpose is far bigger than any one person's acceptance or rejection. Focusing on becoming your best self is not a strategy to win her back. It's about reclaiming your power and directing your energy inward, where it belongs. It means building a life so full, so rich, and so fulfilling that whether she returns or not becomes irrelevant. Your happiness, self-worth, and sense of purpose must be rooted in your own journey, not in someone else's changing emotions. Becoming your best self involves every aspect of your life, your physical health, your emotional intelligence, your financial stability, your passions, your relationships, and your personal growth. It's about living a life of intention, not reaction. It's about setting standards for yourself and for the people you allow into your inner world, and refusing to compromise them for temporary attention or affection. When you are focused on becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally emit a different kind of energy. You radiate confidence, peace, and fulfillment. People, not just women, are drawn to those who are clearly on a mission, who have direction, who love themselves enough to keep growing, even when it would be easier to stay stuck. Ironically, it is often after you've truly let go of hoping for her return that she feels most pulled back toward you, because you now embody something rare, self-mastery. However, whether she comes back or not should no longer be the goal. By the time she realizes your value, you may have already grown the person you once were when you wanted her. You may have become someone who no longer needs what she offered, or who recognizes that you now deserve far more than she is willing or able to give. In the end, the true victory after rejection is not in getting her back, but in getting yourself back. stronger, wiser, more fulfilled, and completely at peace. The real reward is the man you become through the process of healing, growth, and relentless self-investment. So in the end, remember this: a woman's rejection is not a final judgment on your value. It's simply a moment in time shaped by emotions, circumstances, and fears you cannot always see. When you stop chasing approval and start chasing your own potential, everything changes. You no longer sit around waiting for someone to see your worth. You become a man who knows it already. If she comes back, let it be because you have evolved into the best version of yourself, not because you stayed frozen in hope. And if she doesn't come back, you haven't lost anything. You've only gained a deeper, more powerful connection to yourself. The real win isn't winning someone back. The real win is becoming someone no rejection can ever break.